And a pleasant good evening to you and to yours, and welcome to the Brevard Sports Network. Alan Slaughterzinski with you here this evening for a final regular season show. Thursday at noon, we will kick off playoff editions of this as the Florida High School Athletic Association drops the FHSAA playoff rankings. And tonight, we will actually be able to look at them on the screen tonight because I have figured out that on the laptops, they do not update through Google, but they do update through the Safari. So tonight, we will be able to look at all of that on the screen, and I couldn't be more excited about that. It's really a weird thing that they don't update these things on Google, but they do on the whatever what is that? I can't even remember what that's called anymore. The Google Chrome, Google Chrome, but they do it on Safari. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. Anyway, we also have the FHSAA to talk about to try to decipher just what on God's green gridiron happened over the last couple of days in terms of the proposal from Executive Director Craig Damon to what was voted on today and what we can look forward to in the future. And of course, we got this thing right here over my shoulder happening tomorrow night at the O Dome in Merritt Island, and you'll see it live here on Brevard Sports Network. We're going to try to do this both on our Facebook and our YouTube page tomorrow night. But if we can't get the Facebook page going, then we will certainly have it on our YouTube page with a link on Facebook to watch it on YouTube tomorrow night. And this is going to be, this is the game of the year. And, I know we said earlier this season it was O'Galley and Coco, and at the time it was. But this is the game of the year, the best for last, all of it. Whatever cliche you want to come up with tomorrow night. And tonight, we're going to break it all down for you as best as we possibly can in terms of players to watch tomorrow night, key factors involved in this tomorrow night. And I'll tell you, look, O'Galley's won 6 of the last 10 and 3 in a row. The cool little stat, and I'm a stat guy, so I really like the stat portion of this stuff and those little quirky, notes about things. The last time O'Galley, or Merritt Island, I should say, won in this series was back in 2022. Now, I don't know if you remember that game, but it took place on a Monday night at O'Galley. It was a makeup game because the week prior, Hurricane Ian had made its way across the state of Florida, so all of the high school football was canceled that week. They made that game up on October the 3rd, that first Monday in October, and at the time, O'Galley, I believe, was undefeated, and Merritt Island came in and actually won that football game, and it was a great game that night, and of course, hoping for a similar. Not, I don't have a dog in the hunt in terms of wins or losses. I'm hoping for a similar game in terms of a great football game. And I think that we are indeed going to get that tomorrow night. But let's take a minute and talk about, and the other thing, let's start with this. This right here is the FACA Players of the Year. Now, I get a lot of emails wondering why it is that I don't do it for I don't do it for any sport that involves FACA. And it's no disrespect to the players. It's no disrespect to the coaches that vote. It's no disrespect meant, period. I just have my own thoughts and feelings on 8 pages of players and listen, I mean, as far as the vote goes, I'll read you down the list of players who were voted players of the year for each classification here in Brevard County. For independent, meaning SSAA or independent school like Cocoa Beach, that was Jaden McMillan from Holy Trinity, and a well-deserved honor there. The FACA 12 player, the FACA District 12 player of the year, Noah Flores from 1A, Delvante Hunter, the astronaut War Eagle linebacker for 2A. No surprise in 3A, Xavier Larice. Robbie Blaylock in 4A, the Rockledge quarterback. Nate Owens, the Heritage athlete in 5A. And man, what a game Heritage and MCC played on Friday night. We'll get to that in a minute. 6A quarterback Eric Nelson. Your district MVPs, meaning that these are your overall player of the year. And right now, our overall player of the year in the clubhouse going into the playoffs is Xavier Larice from O'Galley. I mean, when we talk about Xavier coming up a little bit later. And the coach of the year for District 12, FACA coach of the football coach of the year, Tyler Murray from Merritt Islands. Congratulations to Tyler Murray. And yeah, we just don't post the FACA results. We do our own awards, and our own awards basically we kind of keep them quiet. We have 8 or 9 members of different media outlets. Not all of them want to be identified, which I get. We use a lot of our own staff members, coaches. There is a lot of and I know a lot of people think I'm full of it when I say this, but there's a lot of internal strife around these studios when it comes time to picking players of the year. In fact, this year for lacrosse, between the number of emails we receive from parents nominating their own kids and the internal strife that we had about we just didn't pick them. We just didn't pick. It's not worth that headache. So, yeah. But we will certainly. And we're also debating this year, throwing it around the room, so to speak, when it comes to players of the year, of doing the FHSAA and the SSAA separate. And again, this is a debate we can get into forever as the day is long, right? But everybody else wants to try to find a separation between the SSAA and the FHSAA, and in reality, there certainly is one. So we figured that we would take a look at all of these players and figure out, should we do one for each classification. I'll tell you what, if the FHSAA keeps it up, you may have some more SSAA teams next year. Let's, before we get into that, take a look back first at last week, which we like to do because last week's results are going to play an important part on what happens Thursday at noon. Cocoa wins another barbecue bowl and a third straight shutout in this one. Zay Chapel, 3 touchdowns in this game as the Tigers win it 36-0. They won it 37-0 last year and 26-0 the year before. The last 3 barbecue bowls, 99-0. But I know that John Holmes and company will get that script flipped. That's a good young football team. We're going to talk about them when we talk about these rankings coming up. Titusville wins the Hudson Bowl, 37-3 over Astronaut. I don't know that Titusville's ever won 4 in a row in this series. They trail by a lot, but they have won 4 in a row in this series. The Terriers, 37-3. And I got to tell you, the Titusville Terriers are really playing some good football right now. And it couldn't come at a better time of the year, especially considering they could face either O'Galley or Merritt Island, and of course that game would be on the road, coming up to start the playoffs on the 14th. And I think both O'Galley and Merritt Island is going to be looking at a different team than the one they saw the last time that they played. I don't know if the result's going to be any different. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But I do know that this could be a different Titusville team than the ones that they saw um, earlier this season. And again, Titusville really believes that they should have beaten both of those teams. And I think there's some people out there that would agree with them on that. Uh, Heritage saves for now, their playoff life. At least, look, if Heritage lost this football game to MCC, there'd be no need for them to even watch Thursday at noon. But now, the Panthers and Coach Michael Benson, yeah, they better be tuning in because there is I would say about a 50 to 60% shot they can take that eighth seed um, on Thursday. They were number 9 in 5A4, 1.531 points behind Miramar. The Patriots lost to Cardinal Gibbons Thursday. We'll break that down a little bit further when we get into the brackets. So the Panthers have a shot. You say there's a chance. Yes, I am. And a hell of a football game this was. Heritage, who, of course, the week before broke everybody's hearts, including their own, the way they lost that football game to Martin County in the district championship game. 27 seconds, a pass down the right sidelines, goes for a touchdown, bang, lead gone, district championship gone. And I give a lot of credit to Michael Benson and that staff because that's a team that could have folded. And at one point in this game on Friday night, they did trail by 10 points. And it looked like MCC was going to win this game. But Heritage came back. They dug down deep. They came back. I thought Jordan Padala played his best game I've ever personally seen him play. And, I tell you what, Nate Owens is a player. He's a stud. Him and Padala connected 3 times, including the game winner with 56 seconds to play. It's another heartbreak for MCC, but I'll say this. Heritage needed this football game far more than did the Hustlers. And the Hustlers are in the playoffs. And as long as everything holds status quo there, we'll probably host a first-round playoff game with 2 victories this season. You think the rankings need to be changed? And that's not a negative knock on MCC. I'm just saying, with their strength of schedule, which is the toughest in all of 1A, look it up. That's wild that a 2-win team could host a first-round playoff game. But that's a very real possibility if they get paired up with Orlando Christian Prep in that first round. Let's get the scores back up so we can jump on to more recent news because I know everybody knows what happened on Friday night. All right. Palm Beach Garden beats Melbourne 36-22. Matanzas over Palm Bay 41-14. The win by Merritt Island over Vieira 35-14. It's going to be interesting, and we'll talk about it again in a second. And I hate to keep saying we're going to talk about it in a second, but we're going to get to these rankings because these scores are going to matter. Seeing both Melbourne and Vieira lose Friday night, both of these teams may have blew their opportunity to play each other in the first round right here in Brevard County. We'll see, but I don't think it's a good shot that these two teams are matched up. I could be wrong. These FHSAA rankings have fooled me before, but I think one of these guys is going to drop to a 6. 5 and 6 don't play each other. 5 travels to 4, 6 goes to 3. That's just the way it is. So I think these losses on Friday night may have cost these teams the opportunity to face one another in the playoffs. The SSA playoffs first round was on Thursday and Friday night. American Heritage, a top seed, Delray Beach 35-7 over Bayside. Billy Miller and company season came to an end. Space Coast will advance to play Frostproof as they beat Coral Springs 20-6 on Thursday. Satellite with a 28-15 win over LaBelle. And now Satellite will go and play top seed American Heritage Delray Beach. I wanted to take a look at, if it'll pull up for me, and it will. I wanted to show everybody something here because I think we're going to get into what the FHSAA is doing with rankings. Now, I know a lot of you out there have varying opinions about playing in the SSAA. But there is one thing about this league that I absolutely love, and that is their ranking system. They use the ELO system, and when you look at, well, let's see okay, so here's their power index. I don't even know if you can see it on my screen. Excuse me, but you take a team like Space Coast and Satellite, and Space Coast is 10-1. Satellite 9-1. You see right here where it says all division ELO rank, schedule rank. This really does a deep dive on strength of schedules, wins in those strengths of schedules, losses in those strengths of schedules. I did some research on this, and I have to tell you that I really think this is an outstanding ranking system. I mean, you may or may not agree with me, but the bottom line is that when you see a 9-1 team or an 8-1 team as a 3 seed or a 4 seed ranked 5 and 6, then you know that they just aren't giving out top seeds because of records. Like maybe you get that feeling someplace else, if you know what I mean. So anyway, Satellite's going to travel to American Heritage Delray Beach, and good luck, because American Heritage Delray Beach is the number 1 overall seed. And Satellite's going to travel to play Frostproof. And Frostproof won one of those SSA state championships last season as well. So you got 2 former state champs going at it tomorrow night in the SSAA, or Friday night, I should say, in the SSAA. So good luck to both Brevard teams. And, of course, Merritt Island Christian and Calvary Chapel both won their playoff games Friday. So they both advance as well and will play this week. Merritt Island Christian, you'll see right here on Brevard Sports Network. Ron Lighthall and Brian Kelly will be on the call for that one. So congratulations we got 4 SSAA playoff teams alive, 2 11-man and 2 8-man. All right, so that's last week. Now let's get into what it means in terms of the SF, too many A's and S's and F's, in the FHSAA rankings and where we are. Here, let's take a jump here. The number 1 overall ranked team in all of the state of Florida, according to the FHSAA, is Vero Beach. All right, but we're going to jump into Region 1A, and we want 100. Yes, we do. So let's go to Region 2. We're going to go to Region 2. These are the final rankings. Again, these are as of last week. The rankings that come out Thursday are the playoff rankings. So you got MCC sitting right here at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th. That means 5th because the First Academy's out, because Orlando Christian Prep moves up to 4. And their strength of schedule is just ridiculous. 1153. Look at his strength of schedule for Melbourne Central Catholic. That is sick. I mean, absolutely ridiculous for a 1A team. You go down the rest of 1A, and there's only one other team in double digits, and that's Westminster Christian. And they're negative. I'm sorry. Never mind. Forget that. 1390. The First Academy has the toughest strength of schedule in the region at a 1390. And they can't even play in the playoffs because of their sanctions from last year, and they lost their appeal. So Melbourne Central Catholic, Orlando Christian Prep, if all things remain the same, and I don't know if they will following that loss to Heritage, but Melbourne Central Catholic playing up to a 5A team is only going to take that strength of schedule and move it higher. They were 2.5 points ahead of Victory Christian. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. More than likely, Melbourne Central Catholic hosting Orlando Christian Prep in round one. That's the more than likely scenario. 2A is where I was talking to another coach tonight about 2A, and 2A is where it could get really crazy. If you look, you had Bradford 1, the Villages 2, Calvary Christian 3, Cocoa 4, Berkeley Prep 5, Santa Fe 6, Newberry 7, Astronaut 8. Now, Avon Park's going to slide into 8 because they are the District 7 champs. So, Astronaut is not going to make the playoffs because Avon Park is going to slide into that spot. So, but who will the Cocoa Tigers play? Well, if you look at everything and you look at the points over here, Coco's strength of schedule, which is 4 points higher than anybody else in their region, okay? One of the top strength of schedules in all of 2A. You go down here, you see Tampa Catholic's got a tough one. But they won't pass Bradford for one. I made a case where they could go past the Villages. I think Calvary Christian moves to 2, Cocoa moves to 3, the Villages move to 4. Under that scenario, my gut tells me that Cocoa plays Santa Fe in round one, who would be the 6th seed. Some people think that it could be Newberry that jumps up. I don't know. Newberry got a win over 1A Tampa Catholic. Santa Fe picked up a win over a 3A school, I believe it was. So I think Santa Fe stays put at a 6. Cocoa jumps to a 3, and you get Coco's first round matchup is 3-6 with Santa Fe. So that's just my opinion, and we'll see how it pans out on Thursday. In 3A, if we not 3AA because there is no such thing, 3A, if you go to 3A, you look at, okay, Region 2. Bishop Moore, 1, that's going to stay. Obviously, you see here, O'Galley's 2, Merritt Island's 3, right? So whoever wins that matchup tomorrow night jumps to the 2 spot. East Side is 4, South Sumter 5, Titusville 6. Here's where this could get interesting. Did Titusville do enough? And I don't think so. I think Titusville stays slotted at a 6, and they're going to end up playing the loser of the O'Galley Merritt Island game tomorrow night. That's where I think that ends up. Could they move up to a 5? Possibly. They'd have to go to East Side, who finished 7-3 this year out of Gainesville. I think you want to stay a 6. You want to play the devil you know instead of the one you don't. If that's the way the expression goes, the enemy you know instead of the enemy you don't know. I think if you're Titusville, you want to stay planted right there. You want to go to the O-Dome tomorrow night, and you want to watch both your opponents slug it out, and you're going to play the loser. And I think if you're the Terriers, that's exactly what you're hoping for. I don't think either one of these two schools wants to play Titusville again, just because it's tough to beat a team 2 times in one season. Especially a team like Titusville right now that's humming. If O'Galley wins tomorrow night, the likely opponent is Tavares. Same for Merritt Island. If Merritt Island wins tomorrow night, they'll likely host either of these schools. The winner tomorrow night will likely host Tavares in round 1. The other will host Titusville. So there's the bonus, too, that they get to stay a top 4 seed and host still. Excuse me, in 4A, and here's where it really gets interesting because I fear that Rockledge is going to drop to an 8 seed here. Jones 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's see, I'm not sure what Lecanto did. If Lecanto lost their final game of the year, then Rockledge stays a 7. And I can't remember. I know I looked at this the other night. But let's take a look here. They lost. All right, so Rockledge likely stays a 7, and will travel to either Wales or Zephyr Hills in a round one matchup. So yeah, I mean, Rockledge will be in because everybody says, well, 3-7. Seabreeze is not going to pass Rockledge. They're just not. Not with a 0.10 strength of schedule and Rockledge having a 10, which I think last week was the third or fourth toughest in all of 4A. All right, let's take a look at Heritage in 5A. Heritage is all the way down here in Region 4. All right, Atlantic Delray Beach, who beat O'Galley in O'Galley's final game back in Week 10, followed by St. Thomas, Coconut Creek, Mater Academy, MacArthur, Martin County, North Miami, Miramar, and Heritage. Here you go, folks, right here. This is it. Did Heritage do enough with their win to pass Miramar, who's 4-6? Heritage is 4-6. I say yes. I think the Panthers snatch that playoff. Heritage has not been a playoff seed for all 6 of these FHSAA playoff rankings. But the one that matters the most is the one that's coming out Thursday. And I truly, truly believe that Heritage is going to own that 8th spot. I just do. I think that win helps them. You look at Heritage's strength of schedule; it's a few points better than Miramar's. Miramar gets beat. We'll see how it ends up. I don't know. And that's the thing that sucks about not knowing exactly how these things work. And the FHSAA, well, I don't want to spoil it. We'll get into that here in a second. So here in 6A, down to Region 2, Armwood is number 1. I think they're a power every year. Armwood, Southlake, Vieira was 4, Riverview, Melbourne. So Melbourne even dropped down to a 4, 5, 6 seed here. Yeah, I don't see any way. I just don't see any way that Melbourne and Vieira can play in the first. In fact, I think Vieira may fall to a 5, and they'll have to travel to Riverview. Melbourne would have to play a rematch with Osceola. Not a hateful thing, though. If Melbourne's a 6 and Osceola's a 3, Melbourne goes to Osceola. And if you talk to a lot of the coaches from Melbourne, they believe they ran out of time. They figured some things out at the end there, played Osceola as tough as they've played them in recent years, and wanted another shot at them. Well, this is going to be that other shot, possibly coming in round 1 of the playoffs. This time, though, at Osceola. So we'll see. You're watching the Ubrzati High School football preview show, brought to you by, well, of course, Ubrzati. And we thank Ubrzati for their partnership over the years and all that they've done for Brevard Sports Network. I promise we're going to get to this game over my shoulder with the championship belt hanging above it here shortly. And we're going to break it down pretty extensively. But the Florida High School Athletic Association met today in Gainesville to vote on a radical proposal by Executive Director Craig Damon that would have really reshaped the landscape of high school football in the state of Florida. And it was essentially voted down. They go in this morning. They now get 2 proposals. You get proposal A, which is keep district play, 10 games, and shorten the classes from 7 to 6. Or B, which is shorten the classifications from 7 to 5, an 8-game schedule with a district tournament and no mandatory district games. Nobody wanted that. Nobody wanted that. And nobody got it as they adopt. I do like the fact that they are going to shorten the classifications by 1. The big thing here is 2 and 3 team districts. Nobody wants that. Nobody. I think the bare minimum needs to be 6 teams per district. And look, I get it. Travel logistics and things like that can make it a nightmare. And when they release, and supposedly they're going to have this redistricting done by Christmas. It's going to take a little longer. Teams are going to protest. They're going to want to move. We see it every cycle. Every cycle, teams aren't satisfied with the district they were placed in. They appeal it. Their appeal is overturned or upheld or whatever, and they get to go play in the district they want to play in. But I think the FHSAA just simply needs to be firm here and make it 6-team district minimums, some even more. And then the big thing that was mentioned today was, and even Executive Director Damon agreed with this, there needs to be a freaking overhaul in these rankings. Anything that you cannot see, you cannot identify, to me, has always been ridiculous. We put it on the Facebook page today what the FHSAA ranking system is supposed to be. It's like, because Max Preps is proprietary, they don't release the exact formula behind their rankings. So if you look at the ranking system the way it is right now, which is what the FHSAA uses, let me just make sure that I'm correct in this. Okay. They use a modified Max Prep style formula. So if they're using a modified Max Prep style formula, it weighs a team's win-loss record, strength of schedule, opponent's strength of schedule, the quality of that. But every week we're left guessing. Win-loss, we're just left guessing how all this works out. We thought for sure last year Astronaut was going to be a playoff team. And when we went back and tried to retrace the math, the only thing that we could figure out was that because they had loaded, or not loaded, but because they had put SSAA teams on their schedule, the FHSAA there simply weren't enough points awarded for that, and that's where they were punished and hurt, so they didn't make the playoffs. But they need to overhaul this ranking system, and transparency has got to be the key factor behind this. We have to be able to see what a team needs to do. Like Heritage, for example. What exactly would Heritage need to win by, or what exactly would need to happen to get Heritage into that A spot? Or what exactly would Astronaut needed to do coming down the stretch to hang on to that A spot? That changes things for coaches. It's a competitive thing. So the transparency in these rankings have got to happen. And of course, there are other things that the FHSAA must figure out and work on. The open enrollment transfers. I know that's a state thing. That's not anything they can change. That's voted into law. But there needs to be a way that kids don't go to 4 schools in 4 years. I'm all for transferring, but 3 schools in 4 years. There are some places where if a kid transfers, he has to sit out for that sport for that cycle. He can play other sports throughout the year, but if he let's say he transfers for football, well, he has to sit out a year. If you're a senior, well, you play where you're at. You can't have 4 schools in 4 years or 3 schools in 4 years. I think the limit needs to be 2. And I think anything after that, there needs to be some sort of a cap. Again, I think kids should have choice. Now, just like in college, should something happen, a coach get fired or a coach leave or this, there's always extenuating circumstances. Nothing is ever completely etched in stone. So if a kid has already done his 2 transfers and there's an extenuating circumstance for him to transfer a 3rd year, but those extenuating circumstances need to be laid out. You need to know what they are before you go in. You can't just create them. So that's my point. to this. But there are so many different things. Like there's that. I still think there's a competitive balance problem. I still think, reclassification shouldn't be by school size alone. I mean, like John Santucci tweeted today, you got a 1A school in Chaminade Madonna whooping up on 5A, 6A, 7A schools. I get it. Chaminade Madonna's a national product. I understand that. But that's not uncommon in the state of Florida. 1A and 2A schools beating up on 5, 6, and 7As. It's not uncommon. And I think the FHSAA was clearly onto something a couple of years ago when they rolled out the metro in the suburb. You took the 4 Jacksonville, Miami, Fort Lauderdale area, Tampa, those areas are always going to be afforded a plethora of riches when it comes to student athletes because there are more. And so those schools are always stacked and stocked with great student athletes. And when they split this thing into suburban and metro a couple of years ago, I think the number that just keeps jumping out to me about the success it was the scores in the state championship games. In the 2 years of metro and suburb, the average marginal win was 12 and 15 points. When we went back to the classification system the way we did last year, it was either 22 or 26, but I think it was 26 points. 26 points. So, yeah, something's got to change with this. I'm not for splitting it into just private and public. I think there's a common ground there somewhere. But I think when you're talking about a 13-member board, I think there needs to be coaches. Coaches need to have a say in this. They need to have a say in all of these things that happen moving forward. And are you going to get factions where the South coaches are going to want one thing compared to what Brevard County coaches or Volusia County coaches are going to want? Sure you are. But that's why you put them in a room and lock the door and make them hammer it out and come up with something that everybody can agree on. That's what summer's for, right? I mean, you're not playing 7-on-7 all year. Go jump in a room together and put this thing together and figure it out. I don't know. We'll see if it ever comes to fruition. But I certainly think before any major changes are made, coaches need to be heard from. Athletic directors need to be heard from. It can't be just a 13 Florida Coaches Coalition. They had a voice in this, which was nice to see. Josh Wilson and Andrew Ramjet put together a wonderful survey of coaches that I believe heavily factored into the fact that they went with one option over another option. So coaches, ADs, everybody, there's a system that'll work. And it's somewhere in between what we saw with Metro and Suburb and what we have now. So that's my take on it. I need a drink of water. I'll be right back here on Brevard Sports Network.
Hi, I'm Christy Lindback with Compass, your East Coast real estate expert. When it comes to selling your home, experience and strategy matter. My team and I make sure every detail is handled, so you get top dollar and a stress-free experience. We bring in professional stagers, high-end photographers, and cinematic videographers to showcase your home at its best. Because every showing starts online and we make sure your home stands out. With consistent communication, strong negotiation skills, and local market expertise, I guide you every step of the way. Because here in Brevard, when it comes to real estate, Chrissy knows. Ready to buy or sell in Brevard? Visit ChrissyKnows and let's get started.
All right. Thank you, Chrissy Lindback. Thank you, Technique Boxing. And of course, thank you, Ubrzati. There it is. Tail of the tape tomorrow night. The 3A8 District Championship. I'm going to pick, I'll make a prediction tonight, too. So I'll give you my best uh, Lee Corso impression. I'll put the helmet on of the team I think will win tomorrow night. So we'll do it that way tonight instead. But there it is, the 3A8 District Championship, tail of the tape, up on your screen. There's a lot going to play into this one tomorrow night. The head coaches, both great coaches. Chris Sands, 8th year at O'Galley. Of course, tied with Ryan Schneider for the longest tenured head coach in the county with one school. Football, 61-26 for the Commodores. Tyler Murray, year 4, 25-17 there tomorrow night. And, of course, it's at the O-Dome. You want to make sure you get there early. I wouldn't be surprised. It's the only show in town, which is the way this thing should be tomorrow night. Both of these programs at 6 and 3 tomorrow night. Where do you want to start? Let's start by taking a look at who these teams have played. Does one team have an advantage over the other? And you look at O'Galley's schedule. O'Galley with a loss to just 10 points to, I still think maybe with Joseph Allen not getting injured, that could be a different outcome in that one. Vero Beach, as you saw earlier, a state-ranked number 1 by the FHSAA. Their losses, Vero Beach, the First Academy, and Atlantic Delray Beach, all top 64 state-ranked teams by Max Preps. Their strength of schedule, 47-41. That's the combined record of all their opponents. That's pretty strong. That's a 535. But then you jump to the other side, and you look at what Merritt Island has quietly, and I will say quietly, because we talked about O'Galley's strength of schedule to start the season, Heritage, Cocoa, Rockledge, and as the season wore on, MCC. But we didn't really talk about Merritt Island's strength of schedule too much. Their losses have come to Cocoa in double overtime, DeLand, and Carrollwood Day. The combined record of the opponents that Merritt Island has faced this year, 58-29. That's a 666 winning percentage. They have 3 of those teams inside the top 55. They've played 2 9-0 teams and 2 8-2 teams this year. So I don't really think there's an advantage there for either team. I just don't. I loved whom each scheduled before this match. Now, it was obviously going to come after this matchup, right? Because this matchup was intended to be played before O'Galley faced Atlantic Delray Beach and Merritt Island faced Carrollwood Day. But I like the thinking in scheduling those games ahead of the playoffs. And because really for both of these teams, this is the start of the playoffs tomorrow night. They get a jump on the rest of the FHSAA field because if anything has a playoff atmosphere, this thing's got it tomorrow night. Where do we start? Let's start with the X factors because the X factors are going to be the thing that Merritt Island's just going to have to stop tomorrow night. They're going to have to stop Xavier Corbin and Xavier Larice. There you see their statistics on the screen. Absolutely going to have to stop these guys. And, the thing for Merritt Island is the amount of rushing yards per game this team has given up. And I know they're tired of hearing it from me ad nauseum. But it's an issue. And they gave up 489 yards to Carrollwood Day. They gave up over 400 yards I want to say to Ed White, I think it was, or DeLand, one of those 2 teams in a loss. And they're giving up 280 as a team and over 8 yards per carry. Look, they got 2 great tacklers. They got Jarvis Howell, who has 117 tackles, and Ethan Holt, who has 94. They got guys that can make stops. So they are going to have to figure out a way to slow down Xavier Larice and Xavier Corbin. I think I think it's one of these things where you know both of these guys are going to get their yards, right? It's just what can you limit them to, and which one do you concentrate? Obviously, the game plan is going to be to concentrate and focus on stopping both. You're not stopping both. I just don't see any way, shape, or form that you shut down both Xavier Corbin and Xavier Larice. So you got to pick your poison here. If one of these guys were to beat you, which one is it going to be? I think if you're Merritt Island tomorrow night, the key to this thing is shutting down Xavier Larice. He is the wildcat type quarterback. And listen, they are throwing the football more. They are, they are throwing the ball more. Larice has 70-some pass attempts this year, and he's got an arm. I think he prefers to run it, but he can throw it. So I think that's the thing. O'Galley's averaging 28 points a game, 322 yards of offense, 240 rushing yards a game this year. Yeah, and they don't turn the football over. They just don't do it. One interception and just 3 fumbles. But on the offensive side of the football, now you got to counter the Mustangs' aerial attack with Kevin Verpail. And how do you, if you're O'Galley, obviously you got Xavier Larice and guys back there that can do this. But you're going to have to slow down the 3 and 4-headed monster of Dontarius Robertson, Deshaun Thomas, and Drew Sarver. Sarver's a sticks guy. He can get you underneath all day long. Robinson can make plays down the field on you. And Thomas can beat you a couple of different ways. He's a big guy. He's a big kid who can catch the ball across the middle. And you know what? When they get inside the 20 or inside the 10, they're not afraid to give it to him on a jet sweep or hand it off to him because he has a nose. He's got 6 rushing touchdowns this season. And Verpail's accuracy is one of the things that I think is going to play a major key in this game tomorrow night. If Kevin has an accurate game tomorrow night, he could make a lot of trouble for the O'Galley secondary. Listen, O'Galley secondary is loaded with athletes. Again, Larice, Guardo, Corbin, you name it, they've got them. But that aerial attack against that ground game, defensively for O'Galley and Jason, I apologize, I put the I before the E. Jason Melidor, 9 tackles for loss. Caden Jaquez, 84 tackles this season. These 2 guys get after it pretty good. I talked to a coach today who I asked his thoughts on whom he thought was going to win this game. And the thing that he told me was that O'Galley's defense has just gotten progressively better as the season has worn on. And number 44, which is Melidor, has turned into be an absolute issue on that Commodore's defensive line. Whether he's lining up on the left or the right, he is going to test the O'Galley or the Merritt Island offensive line. Now, they have an experienced offensive line, no doubt about it. They've got a lot of returners on that offensive line. In fact, I think all of them are returning. When you look at their projected offensive line, where's it at? Yep, you got Schaefer, Sonnenberg, Clements, Chimoweski, and Metcalf up front. They're going to have to get the job done tomorrow night against that O'Galley front 4. So we'll see. Schaefer with 26 pancake blocks, Sonnenberg with 23, Clements with 15, Chimoweski with 13, and Metcalf with 11. So, yeah, you're going to have to stop. But take a look, and fair is fair. The Mustangs defense as well, with Jarvis Howe and Ethan Holt. And the issue becomes the same for Merritt or O'Galley's offensive line, who is young in spots, but big, physical, mean, nasty. Um, but Merritt Island's defense, front four's giving up. That defense, that front seven's giving up 240 a game. So that's the matchup to keep your eye on tomorrow night. Jarvis Howe and Ethan Holt. They're going to have to make plays on Larice, on Corbin, and neither of these teams get after the quarterback very well in terms of sacks. Merritt Island has 8 sacks this year. O'Galley lists 5. Maybe they have more and don't list them for a reason. I don't know. But the tackles for loss, they're average. So they don't play a lot in the other team's backfields. But one of these defenses is going to have to do that tomorrow night. O'Galley's going to have to put pressure. You can't let Kevin Verpale stand back there and pick you apart tomorrow night. And if you're Merritt Island, you cannot. You have got to try to tackle Larice and Corbin in the backfield out of that Wildcat. You just simply got to try to do it. Because if you don't make plays on defense tomorrow night, big plays consistently, you're just not going to win this football game. I think it does come down to 3 things. I think it comes down to, and the first thing is, will Merritt Island stop O'Galley's rushing attack? You're talking about 240 a game on the ground versus giving up 280 a game on the ground. Which one, is it O'Galley's strength over Merritt Island's weakness? O'Galley doesn't give up a lot of passing yards per game. Let's look at the tail of the tape again here on this one. For what these offenses do, O'Galley, I think, gives up. I think I wrote in the preview they give up. I think like 100 and I think it's like 100. No, it's 82. They don't even give up 100 again. They give up 82. No, that's what they throw. I can't remember what they give up, but it's not much. O'Galley does not give up much on the ground or in the air. So, which one of these two things breaks through tomorrow night? Is it Verpale and his trio of wide receivers with Dontarius Robinson, Deshaun Thomas, and Drew Sarver? Does O'Galley put enough pressure on Verpale to make him inaccurate, make him turn the ball over, which he doesn't do a lot? Or is it going to be the X factors? Which one of these two prevails tomorrow night? If you look at the history of this football game, O'Galley's won 6 of the last 10. Both of these teams play 2 totally different styles of football. I don't think that O'Galley, if they had to, could throw the football the way Merritt Island does. And I don't mean anything against Elaine Adams. And Elaine Adams is over 500 rushing yards this year. I think he's got 544 rushing yards this year. I don't mean anything against Elaine Adams, but I don't think Merritt Island could run the football like O'Galley can run the football if they had to. In other words, I think Merritt Island's more finesse and flair, and O'Galley's more smash mouth and punch him in the mouth. And I think when you look at this time of the year and you look at the consistencies for both of these two programs, to me, it's playing great defense, being able to run the football. When you're not at home, being able to control the clock, tempo, and the time. I will give Merritt Island the advantage. The O-Dome is a heck of a place. It is one of the best home field advantages in the state, much less Brevard County. So the check mark goes there. The coaching is even. Both of these staffs are terrific. They just are. They're deep and they're terrific. And both of these head coaches do the right thing and allowing their staffs to do what they need to do to formulate game plans for big games like this. So that's an even. But I think if you look at what O'Galley does best in running the football, the way that defense has vastly improved as the season is going on, I think it travels well. I think it travels well to the O-Dome. I think it's going to travel well in the playoffs. And I think it travels well tomorrow night as well. I will say this. There is a wild card in this game tomorrow night. And that wild card is that young man right there, Liam Miller. If the Ogali Commodores aren't up by 4 or more points, this young man and his foot could be the difference that decides it. So, special teams, um, even though Xavier Reese a heck of a punter and O'Galley's got a decent field goal kicker, Liam Miller's the best kicker in the county, hands down. He's a heck of an athlete, too. We've talked about him a ton of times on this show. 460 batting average in baseball, great soccer player. And on that turf, if Merritt Island has a chance to win that football game tomorrow night in the waning minutes, and it's a 45-yard field goal attempt, Tyler Murray is not going to hesitate to put Liam Miller on the field, and Liam Miller will make it. So if O'Galley's going to win this football game, in my opinion, it's by 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points tomorrow night. But I just think that Merritt Island, after giving up 489 yards rushing to Carrollwood Day, I just think maybe if it were just Xavier Larice but Xavier Corbin is special, and you got to tackle him a couple times in the backfield. And if they don't do that, and the numbers don't add up. So tomorrow night, I will take the Ogali Commodores tomorrow night to win. I don't think I can get this helmet on my fat head, but I will take the Commodores to win the football game tomorrow night. I think it's a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 point margin tomorrow night. And listen, no harm, no foul in that. If the Mustangs are to win this thing tomorrow night, I do think it comes on the foot of Liam Miller. And listen, he won a game earlier this year at Ed White, in case you don't know, where Ed White jumped off sides on a 42-yard field goal, I think it was. They jumped off sides, and in high school football, that's a dead ball foul. So they had to kick the football again. That's bad enough to ask a high school kicker to kick one field goal from 40 yards, right? But now he's got to do it again. Liam just stepped up and crushed the thing through. It would have been good from 57. It was from 37, and they beat Ed White 52-49. So tough to pick against Merritt Island tomorrow night. I obviously believe that Ogali is, the number one. Like all of you believe that Ogali is one, and you could Coco's playing well right now. Don't get me wrong, but Coco, Ogali, or Ogali, Merritt Island, Coco. Those are your three best teams. Titusville in that mix as well. Your four best teams to end the season. If there were to be a Brevard Sports Network Super 7, which we completely did away with, those four teams would be sitting at the top of the heap. There's no question about it. And Ogali would be sitting at number one, and the rest of them we could just figure out along the way. But I want to thank you for joining us tonight. And again, make sure you join us tomorrow night for Ogali and all Ogali and Merritt Island is, all the factors involved tomorrow night, not just the X factors, the Mustangs defense, the Mustangs aerial attack, Ogali's defense, the head coaches, the district championship, the O-Dome, all of it is going to matter tomorrow night at 7 o'clock when those two teams kick off. It's going to be a fun one, so don't miss it, that's for sure. So I want to thank all of you out there, and have a great night. And after tomorrow, we kick off our soccer season on Thursday with Vieira Girls Soccer on Thursday. We'll be heavily involved what happens over at Polk State College this weekend with the Merritt Island Mustangs volleyball team. Go Mustangs. They play their Final Four match at 10 a.m. on Friday. If they win that, they would play their state championship match at 4 o'clock on Saturday.
Both of those matches available on the NFHS network. We will be in attendance Saturday because I know they're going to be there. There's no doubt in my mind they're going to be there. So we'll be there Saturday. Um, and of course, this week you've got golf regionals, you've got cross country districts, you've got the swimming state championships coming up. There's a lot going on and a lot to be looking out for on Brevard Sports Network. So we'll see you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, and then we'll see you Thursday at noon for the playoff rankings release, and then Thursday night for Vieira Girls Soccer. Have a great night, everybody.